The Queen of Storms. Chapter 3, Part 3. Elaria had found its queen. The royal spacecraft descended through the silver skies of Elaria. Crystal cities sparkled beneath the clouds. Towering palaces reflected the light of distant stars. For Kiran, it felt like a dream. A home he had forgotten. A home he had finally remembered. The spacecraft landed inside the royal palace grounds. The doors slowly opened. And there she was. Era stood waiting at the end of the platform. For a moment neither moved. 17 years of friendship. A lifetime of hidden memories. A destiny neither had fully understood. All of it had led to this moment. Kiran, Era whispered. He smiled. I took my time. Era laughed through tears. Then she ran forward and hugged him. For a moment, the war, the prophecy, and the galaxy itself seemed to disappear. Only the two of them remained. For the first time since leaving Earth, Era felt complete. For the first time since recovering his memories, Kiran felt truly home. Nearby, the grandmother wiped her eyes. About time, she muttered. Commander Rylan smiled quietly. The reunion had finally happened. But peace would have to wait. Suddenly alarms echoed throughout the palace. Red lights flashed. An officer rushed into the courtyard. Your Majesty! The happiness vanished instantly. The Void King's fleet has entered Elarian space. Silence fell. The final battle had begun. Across the stars, darkness spread. Thousands upon thousands of enemy warships emerged from the void. The skies above Elaria filled with fire. Defense fleets launched from crystal cities. Energy shields surrounded the planet. Every soldier knew what was at stake. If they failed, Elaria would fall. And the galaxy would follow. Inside the command center, Era stood before the massive holographic battlefield. Beside her stood Kiran. The crown of tempests glowed above her brow. The guardian seal shone around his neck. The two ancient powers had finally reunited. Commander Rylan looked toward them. This is our only chance. Era nodded. Then let's finish this. The battle erupted. Lightning storms tore through enemy fleets. Silver energy shields protected Elarian ships. Explosions illuminated the darkness between the stars. Entire fleets clashed across countless sectors. The war spread through the galaxy itself. Yet despite their efforts, the Void King's forces continued advancing. The enemy seemed endless. Then a familiar face appeared on every screen. Varel. The former enemy who had become their ally. His flagship was heading directly toward the heart of the invading fleet. Era's eyes widened. Varel, what are you doing? He smiled. The calm smile of someone who had already made his choice. For too long, I carried the guilt of my mistakes. The enemy fleet grew closer. Today I finally make things right. Varel, wait. He looked toward the stars one last time. Then toward Elaria. Toward the people he had once betrayed. And finally toward the queen he had chosen to protect. Tell them. He smiled. That this galaxy was worth saving. His transmission ended. A heartbeat later, his flagship accelerated. Straight into the center of the darkness. A brilliant explosion consumed the battlefield. The shockwave shattered countless enemy vessels. A path opened directly to the Void King. Var-El was gone. Silence filled the command center. No one spoke. No one moved. Then Kiran stepped forward. He gave us a chance. Era stared at the opening left behind. The path to the enemy. The path to the end. A tear rolled down her cheek. She wiped it away. Then we won't waste it. Together they flew into the heart of the void. Darkness swallowed everything around them. Stars vanished. Light disappeared. Then they saw him. The Void King. A living shadow larger than worlds. Two enormous red eyes opened within the darkness. His voice echoed through space itself. You are too late. The stars trembled. Entire fleets fell silent. The ancient monster had awakened fully. But this time Era was not alone. Kiran stood beside her. Just as he always had. The Storm Queen. And her guardian. Together. The final battle shook the galaxy. Lightning collided with darkness. Silver energy clashed against shadows. Again and again the Void King attacked. Again and again they stood their ground. Worlds watched. Fleets watched. The entire galaxy watched. The crown of tempests and the guardian seal began glowing brighter. The two powers called to one another. Responding. Completing something ancient. Something unfinished. At last, their energies merged. Era's lightning. Kiran's celestial power. Storm and guardian became one. A massive symbol of pure light appeared across the stars. The ancient seal. The power created by the founders of Elaria thousands of years ago. The very force forged to imprison the Void King. For the first time, fear entered the monster's glowing eyes. No. But it was too late. Era and Kiran joined hands. Their powers became one. The ancient seal descended. Light flooded the universe. The darkness shattered. The red eyes disappeared. And the Void King was imprisoned forever. The war was over. The stars were safe. The galaxy survived. Across countless worlds, celebrations erupted. For the first time in centuries, peace returned. Years passed. The wounds of war slowly healed. Across the galaxy, worlds that had once lived in fear began rebuilding their futures. Trade routes reopened. New alliances were formed. And for the first time in centuries, children grew up beneath peaceful stars. Elaria flourished. Its crystal cities shone brighter than ever. Its people no longer looked toward the heavens with fear, but with hope. Under Queen Era's rule, the kingdom entered a golden age unlike any in its history. Wisdom guided the throne. Compassion guided the people. And standing beside the queen was the guardian who had helped save them all. Kiran was no longer a forgotten child hidden among the stars. No longer a guardian who remembered only fragments of his past. He had become a legend throughout the galaxy. A symbol of loyalty, courage, and sacrifice. Yet despite everything they had endured, some things never changed. They still laughed together. Still argued over small things. Still found moments of peace beneath the silver skies of Elaria. Over time, friendship grew into something deeper. Something that neither destiny nor prophecy could create. Love. And beneath a sky filled with stars, before minions gathered from every corner of the kingdom, Queen Era and Kiran were married. The celebration lasted for days. Crystal towers blazed with light. Music echoed across entire cities. The stars themselves seemed brighter that night. Commander Ryland stood proudly among the royal family. Beside him stood the grandmother who had once raised a lost queen on a distant world called Earth. Tears filled her eyes as she watched the ceremony. Ryland smiled. You always knew she was special. The grandmother laughed softly. I knew she was trouble. For a moment, both laughed together. Then they looked toward the royal balcony. Toward the queen. Toward the guardian. Toward the future they had fought so hard to protect. Later that night, after the celebrations had ended, Era and Kiran stood together on the highest balcony of the Crystal Palace. Far below, the lights of Elaria stretched across the horizon. Far above, countless stars shone peacefully. For a long time, neither spoke. Then Kiran smiled. Do you remember Earth? Era laughed softly. The garden. The lake. Grandmother's cooking. Kiran nodded. We've come a long way. Era looked across her kingdom. At the crystal cities. At the peaceful skies. At the world she had once lost and finally found again. Then she took his hand. Home was never a place. Kiran looked at her. Era smiled. It was the people who stayed with us. Together they stood beneath the stars. Not as a lost queen and her guardian. Not as figures from an ancient prophecy. But as two friends who had found their way home. The prophecy had been fulfilled. The darkness had been defeated. The lost heir had returned. The guardian had awakened. And at long last, Elaria had found its queen. The end. Thank you for joining the journey of the Queen of Storms. If you enjoyed this adventure among the stars, don't forget to like, subscribe to Story Galaxy, and turn on notifications for future stories.